Hey, what's up everybody? Naji here from Anime Onlys. Today we'll be doing things a little differently today, considering I've been slaving over editing this mini-series for you guys that will be dropped later on today. Also, I'm getting ready to go on a video shoot in a bit as I'm a videographer outside of YouTube, but I wanted to make sure that I covered this week's chapter beforehand, and it'll be a lot quicker to edit down this footage as opposed to my talking head videos. But anyway, with that being said, let's get into the review. Black Clover, chapter 235. Now I say that because one of my biggest fears was revealed in this week's chapter, and that's that William Vengeance is still captain of the Golden Dawn. If you guys have seen my previous review, you know that I'm not the biggest fan of William, and I didn't really want to believe that he was still captain of a Magic Knight squad considering all the things that went down in the Elf Invasion arc. But I'll continue with the review because if not, I'll sit here and rant on him for about 30 minutes. So Yuno finds out about the invasion and storms to the squad's headquarters to see what's going on. And we see the Dark Triad's underlings, their group has been revealed to be called the Dark Apostle, continuing to destroy the Golden Dawn's headquarters. And the group of squad members who were discussing Yuno in the last chapter, praising him, for being the vice captain in only a year and a half, they were launching a grand scale magic attack on the Triad, or on the Apostle more specifically. Kind of like a combo spell. But it literally does nothing, and they get dispatched like fodder. Just for the supposed leader of the Apostle, Ichi, that's what my translation says. Probably is wrong because it's not officially from Viz, but we'll just call him Ichi for now. He says that most space sergeants can release up to 5% of demonic power. Meanwhile, people like him can release up to 40% of said energy. And Zeno is even more broken at this point because he can almost handle all the demonic power in him, as he's able to control 80% of his demonic power, or energy. We don't really know what demon he's possessed by. It could be Magicula, or it could be some other demon that we don't even know about yet. There's so many of them, considering that they have their own pocket dimension. But regardless, this is still super impressive from him. It also kind of raises the question of how much control do you think that Asta has of the anti-magic demon, or how much power is he able to harness, like in a percentile? Just because we know that after his training with the spirit guides, he's advanced and he's able to use telekinesis to call for his swords, not to mention harness the power of anti-magic to the degree of being able to fly on his Demon Slayer sword, which is something that he wasn't even capable of prior to his training. And no, we're not talking about that Demon Slayer. Anyway, not yet. But regardless, on the next panel, we see Zeno confront William Vengeance in the middle of a hallway. And before they proceed to discuss anything further, another piece of fodder named Sandler comes out of nowhere and swears to protect William, as he won't let anyone lay a finger on his captain. And I'm just like, you're seriously gonna protect the guy who almost let Patri and the elves kill you?
What?
Okay. So of course, he was quickly defeated and dispatched by Zeno, but who wasn't expecting that? And it's probably the only screen time this guy's gonna get for the foreseeable future, if ever again. He seemed to be inches away from dying anyway. And supposedly, William, I guess, just really meant a lot to him. But we see William pull out his grimoire and gives a speech about how nobody will touch his squad members, and he starts to use his world tree magic and swears to make Xenon pay. Like, you're really gonna make somebody pay by trapping him in a tree. But that's William for you. So anyway, the most shocking thing in this chapter was that we get a glimpse at Xenon's ability, which is the manipulation of bones, aka bone magic. And then the scene fades away from them to Yuno. Now before we get to the last page, I just want to say Zeno is about to utterly demolish William in their fight. I don't see William putting up too much of a fight. He'll probably counter a few things, and then Zeno will take over, almost kill him, saves the day, and saves William's life, but back to the story. So Yuno is flying towards the hideout, and as he lands, he sees all of his squad members lying in defeat and probably inches away from death. To which Ichi turns around and faces him, saying he's missed out on the showdown that just happened, and Yuno immediately transforms into the Spirit Dive form and prepares for what we can assume is battle, and that's the end of the chapter. From what I think, I would say this chapter was about a solid 7.5. It moved at a pretty good pace and gave a lot of things just the right amount of time. I'm glad Tabata and crew didn't give the no-name members of the Golden Dawn a fighting chance, since that would have taken away from the destructive power of the Dark Apostle and therefore the Dark Triad. I know the Golden Dawn members aren't as weak as I'm saying they are, but for the villains to be strong mages on their own, with the enhancement of demon magic, they shouldn't be able to rival them at all. And I'm glad that they didn't give off the illusion that they would be able to, because I've seen and read enough fairy tale in my day to be over the whole, no matter how strong the villain is, teamwork will always prevail, that garbage. And I mean, it has its place, but I don't want to see that in Black Clover. Leave that with fairy tale, please. And something that I noticed that was kind of weird was that Patri did not show up in this chapter. And you'd assume that if William was his best friend, like he would be there helping to protect the squad that William runs, or maybe they co-run it at this point. I don't know if the Golden Dawn is like aware that the Triad is after him and they're hiding him, or if he's just not around, maybe on a mission or something. And something that's also interesting is that, like, Xenon uses bone magic. Like, I know I just said that, but I really want to emphasize that because that's so cool to me. I was wondering what kind of magic these people will have, like the Dark Triad, and I just kind of have like two questions in my head. Is Xenon's bone magic like his original magic type, or is it the magic that he was given or allowed to borrow by whatever demon is possessing him? Later on, when they eventually reveal his backstory, maybe he was born magicless like Asta, or with a magic type that he just didn't really like or he found useless, and his demon was able to swap it out and convert his original magic to that of bone magic. And the other theory is, what kind of spells do you think he'll be able to pull off with his magic? This is just my thought, but what if he was able to like bone bend, or manipulate people's bones, like break them, snap them, twist them, contort them, even like maybe pull them out and use them as weapons. Kind of like how Aang and Katara were able to water and bloodbend in the original Avatar, The Last Airbender, if you guys remember that show. That would be a super sick ability, as Zeno would be able to take on the strongest opponents because everybody in Black Clover are humans. So obviously they would have bones and be able to be damaged tremendously. And also people like Asta, who rely on their strong and brute strength, would kind of be easily dispatched, I want to say, by people like Xenon or somebody that's able to do something like that. Just imagine if all of Asta's bones are broken, maybe Mimosa comes in and saves the day and her advanced healing techniques are able to reverse the effects. But just for right now, like, that would be super awesome. And I just can't wait to see in depth of what his ability can do. And usually I feel like bone characters in anime are really interesting because it's not used that often. I can only think of Xenon now, and then I'm thinking of more specifically Kimimaro from Naruto, how he was able to like pull out bones out of his body and do the bracket dance and just like slice up people with his bones. Like, that was just always awesome to me. And with it not being used that often, it gives Tabata a lot of chance to explore this option, and it kind of provides a unique take on Xenon's ability just because it's not seen so often. So I'm excited to see what he does with that and kind of what abilities he's able to wield. And one last thing that I wanted to mention is that the Dark Apostle isn't really that interesting to me. I don't know if they're interesting to you guys by any chance, but they're just not really doing it for me. I know that they're basically foot soldiers, but at the same time, their magic just doesn't really seem that impressive, and it seems fairly unoriginal. And I mean, I know that they're new villains and I haven't given them a full chance, but for them to be new villains and for people like Xenon to be unveiling bone magic, and the other members of the Triad are probably gonna have like out of this world abilities, he only has rock magic, it's just not super interesting. And they'll probably be defeated within the next couple chapters. I honestly see, wiping him out in like a chapter. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I just want to see a little bit more kick-assery going on in the next chapters because we've been building up for the fight, and this is obviously necessary, but in the next few chapters I really want to see them take it to the next level. But this was my analysis, this was my theories for this week's chapter. I have more videos to churn out with not a lot of time, but I still wanted to cover this advancement in the story. If you guys liked anything I had to say and want to see more of me, leave a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel, and please leave a comment down below. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'm out. Peace.